Kisan sir.
Huh.
Okay, you can start now.
So good afternoon, all the students and the faculty members, my dear colleagues as well. This is Isan Samanko, Innovation Activities and the Vice President of IIC GIST Unit. So as we all know, aware of this thing that IIC 5.0 activity calendar, as per the activity calendar, we are now on the quarter 4. So in this quarter 4, we have, as per our meeting and resolutions, we are going to organize 4 different events on startup. The theme is startup in this quarter. And the first event was done on the just a few days back. And there we discussed about the accelerator and the incubator. Now, in this session, we'll discuss about even if somebody is thinking of being going through or for dreaming of about business, some sort of businesses by considering any of the prototype or might be some other dimensional business ideas. So what should be the business fit? Actually, on what basis they will decide which business to hold and which place and which locations. So these all actually required some technical perspective, some grooming knowledge about on what basis, on what customers' feedback the business should be considered to be hold on that particular specific area or in the specific country or any specific locations based on the some certain parameters. And we are very much honored to our IIC that they have just given us some resources, online resources, that and they have been told, it has been told clearly that if it is possible, it has already been considered from their side, and our committee also hold some meeting and we sit together and decided this video, which we are going to show you, is one of the best fit for this particular topic. And so we are very much thankful to our convener, Mr. Gauri Pal, who has brilliantly organized all these materials together and who has invited all of us into one platform to discuss and to listen to this beautiful talk by Darshana Parmar Jain madam, who is CEO of Snappy Future to Tech, and she is also associated with many other companies, startup companies, and she has now presently is associated with many companies as a business mentors as well. She has been doing some startup activities, being the grooming mentor to all the companies, small companies. She is also executing some of her duties regarding along with the incubators as well, indeed accelerators too. So now I would like to request our convener, Mr. Gauri Pal sir, to kindly play the video and just let us all listen to this beautiful talk by Darshana madam. Thank you all, and thank you for being participating in this event. And please listen to this CEO of Snapper Future Tech regarding brilliant presentation on startup planning and management by considering attaining how to fit the business. So thank you. Please, over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your nice introduction. Now I am starting the video.
June, 500 companies in the US and UK have given her a strong global edge, which she uses to help startups to scale up, drive profitability, and create sustainable business growth. She is master in software systems from the US and is currently the CEO and partner in Snapper Future Tech. So now I would like to invite her to take the session forward. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the introduction. I would firstly like to thank MHRD's Innovation Cell for fostering this culture of progress in the higher education, inviting me for speaking. Deepan Sahuji, Selva Raniji, thank you so much. And thank you, Udayan, for coordinating the entire thing with me. I really appreciate that. I'm going to present, the whole concept of startup planning and management. You have gone through multiple sessions, and those include how to make a business plan, the financials, marketing, product market fit. There are multiple presentations that you have gone through. Today, I'm actually going to talk about how to run a company and what are the parameters that actually work when you take your product to market. So I'm going to work with specific examples for my company, so it's easier for you to understand. Today's objective essentially is to cover business planning. I've covered some templates for various reports for various planning tools and some metrics to monitor the business. So what really tells you that your business is working or that your startup is doing well? You're going to be mentoring a lot of entrepreneurs. So what is it that you should look at? So these are the business stages that you have probably gone through, right? Formation, validation, and scaling. Now, when we talk about business stages, a business plan is the most important thing. And of course, the founders team is crucial. But the business plan that the founders team will make is essentially creating an effective strategy to plot your course and focus your efforts. So while it's easy to put everything on paper, but how do you actually realize if it is working? So, you need to document your revenue model, your future financial needs, and you need to understand if the entrepreneurs are able to do that, right? And this is to basically reduce the risk of pursuing the wrong opportunity. Because when you do a startup and the entrepreneurs that you're going to be guiding are doing, creating startups, eventually they will need to attract investors and angels. So you need to have a good documented business plan, which you've already covered. Today, I'm purely going to cover certain basic operational issues of a company. But before that, I'll just do a little bit of context. So the top 20 reasons that the startups fail. And this is very, very crucial because everyone thinks we have a brilliant idea. And if you have a brilliant idea, it works fine, right? You have the passion, you have the perfect team, and yet your business could fail, right? So the top 3 are extremely important. I think no market need. That is one of the biggest things that is going to happen. And therefore, the product market fit, lesson that you may have done is, I think, one of the most crucial lessons in creating a startup. So your PMR, which is, your primary research with a customer on whether the product is needed, is going to be the most important. Second is whether you run out of cash, whether you've estimated properly. And the third is the team. I would actually rate the team above all 3. Yes, this is a survey, but in my view, and we can talk about teams as a founding, these are building blocks, right? So as innovators, as a entrepreneurial cell within your college, what is it that you should look for? And how do you recognize that this is a winning team? So I think that the first person that the team needs, this is your founding team, is an innovator, right? Now, this guy could be a tech guy, or he could be a business visionary guy, and then he needs a tech partner. But this is an innovator who can actually create the product. He understands how to create the product, and he will play a very crucial role because this is what is going to define what your customer is going to use. Then you have your chief marketing officer. Now, these 2 are absolute key to your founding team. Now, this guy needs to be a storyteller. So does your founding team have somebody who can really, tell you, go to the market with your story? And he can be an innovation catalyst. And I say that because he comes back from the customer to your innovator and says, this is what the market needs, right? And this is how you can do it. He's a capacity builder. He's the one who actually takes it to the market and decides whether this product is going to sell. And the passion with which he can do that is important. So your marketing guy is the one who's going to make you money. He's going to do sales for you. Your CMO is essentially responsible not just for marketing, but for sales. In a small startup, a CMO and sales officer are same. Now, this whole thing is brought together by the guy who's going to run your business, which is a CEO. Now, in a founding team, there is really no distinction, right? There is no particular CEO. Bunch of people get together and say product banane ka hai, and we want to go to market. So, but out of that team that's coming together, who is the guy who can do strategy, who can have a vision, who can monitor, who's really good with processes, can really function well, can do finances? This is the guy who can temporarily operate as your CEO. And it's an important role because he's the one who brings the innovator and the marketing together and makes it one wholesome piece. And then you have your support teams and tech teams get added on to actually create your startup, right? So these are the founding team building blocks that you need to recognize and identify. So what are the traits for that identification is what you as educators will need to understand and recognize and sense that yes, this guy can sell, this guy can innovate, this guy can bring it all together very good with finances. So you can actually help guide the team into a structure. Let's look at the 4 components. Now you have your team, your founders have come together, created a business plan, have decided what product, they've done a product market fit, right? You have everything in place and your startup is registered and ready. What are the things that you need to actually run the company, right? You need some amount of planning. What is that planning? So that I've broken up into 4 pieces. One is your financial plan, one is your marketing plan, and your operations plan. And all of this comes together with your MIS, right? Which is your management information system. Now, planning in terms of your business plan would have probably happened. But here we are talking about drilling down, running your day-to-day operations, right? So let's start and maybe we'll come a little bit. Let's start with financial planning. That's the first piece. If you have the money, you can run a company. So let's first start with financial planning. Now, when we talk about financial planning, there are multiple statements, right? You have your budgets, balance sheets, income statements, cash flows. I'm not going to go through the entire financial statements details with you, but we are going to go through budgeting because that's a very important milestone. I mean, a key piece for you to run your company. So we are going to go through how budgeting is done and the eventual flow from budgeting all the way to how you go to market with that product is linked, and I'll show you how. So in terms of financial planning, to have a successful business, budgeting will play a very important role because it can either turn into a loss-making venture that would eventually end and run out of cash, or it will actually sustain through different troughs and go through it sustainably. So in this session, since we're going to stay with, just the startup budget and cash flows, these are 2 things that are very important to understand. And I will walk you through that through my own journey. So what is financial planning? So I think when you do a financial plan, it answers a lot of questions for you as a company. The different variables that go into determining pricing. You have a product. What are you going to price it at? You're going to market, right? What are you going to price it at? How have you decided what the pricing is going to be? And initially in the early stages, there is a lot of uncertainty because there are a lot of assumptions the founders have to make, right? About the unit economics and other financial metrics. You have to make some assumptions, but they're important to make because that is what will determine what price will you take your product to market at. What equipment do you need to buy? What licenses do you need to buy? How many months do you need to break even, right? And breaking even is essentially where your costs and expenses even out. And I mean your revenue, right? Your revenue and your expenses even out and your company breaks even. That's called break even. So where do you break even? How many months will you need to be financed through outside funding? These are all questions that a financial planning will answer. If I ask you a question like, how long will it take for you to convert a prospective customer into a paying customer? Now that time will determine your financial planning. So what is your sales cycle? How long will it take you to close a sale? Is it 7 days, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months? That will decide how much money you need to sustain. So these are all the questions that a financial statement will help you answer. What are your operating revenues, margins, right? Now you could maybe, let's say for a moment that you're selling a product for 100 rupees, but your cost of customer acquisition is 150 rupees. You're losing money, no? You're acquiring a lot of customers, tons, but you're losing money. So it makes no sense. And therefore it is important to get this all budgeted out. Let's talk about just a pure startup initial budget, right? Now, this is a summary. It basically tells you what expenses initially is the company going to incur and what are the sources of funds. So we are talking about administrative, location is in rent, marketing, pre-launch, all of the other sundry expenses that we may have, right? And then we are talking about, and product development, that's not here, but that would be one of the expenses. And what are the sources? Either you are bootstrapped, right? Which is the founders have put some money in or whatever, or they are putting in their effort to create the product, or you have investors, or you have loans, right? So depending on where your sources of funds are and how long they are going to last is what you're going to budget. So let's look at expenses. What kind of expenses are you going to account for? You're going to account for fixed and variable expenses both. Now, in fixed expenses, you have a whole lot of costs, which are, let's say, building rent, your utility, salaries, internet service, accounting, insurance payments, right? These are all fixed costs, which means that much outgo is there whether revenue comes in or not. There are a bunch of variable costs that you will incur. Let's say if you're a manufacturing firm and you're actually producing something, there's raw material cost, labor cost, right? And these will fluctuate based on how much inventory you need to do. If you have a product that you're creating, right, then the variable costs or direct costs could come under salaries of your tech team. And depending on how much you need to build and for how long, you will account for that in your product development cost. Technology, any licenses that you may need, any technology licenses that you need. Each of these will account for cost. There are then some costs which are your one-time expenses, right? Now, these could be maybe you've taken a membership or you're replacing some furniture. I mean, this is a one-time cost, right? You bought a laptop. These are all one-time costs, and these will account in the category of one-time. Support expenses could be your, HR or accounting or any of this staff that is there, which is called supporting staff or training. These would be support expenses. Now, once we've understood this, and these are templates are available. I mean, if any of you want, I'm happy to share any of these templates that you may need. Let's look at the funding. We've understood what expenses we have right in the beginning, right? Now let's understand where is the money going to come from. So either the founders have put in capital, which is the founders' equity, or you're going to raise capital from somewhere, either friends and family. Initially, financing comes from people who believe in you, right? And you will issue some equity towards that capital that they put in. Initial capital, when you give away, it's too much equity you give away because you're valued really low. So the best way to finance is to, maybe founders put in the capital. Or you can, debt is never a good way to fund a startup, but that is one of the ways that is available in terms of whether you want a loan. Now, for startups, especially in India and outside, there are a lot of grants available for startups. So if you're really good in the segment that you are in, you can apply for these grants, and especially women-led firms qualify for a lot of grants. So there is some amount of equity-free capital available there, which you can go after. And that comes in the form of grants. Of course, grants have their own set of rules or systems or what have you, and that's okay. But they're equity-free. That's a very important thing. Now, these things, your expenses, right, and your funding, kind of give you an idea of how much money you are needing. Now, in the previous slide, if we look at, we said product development, right? We want product development. So for product development, let's assume your expenses 50 lakhs. So that 50 lakhs needs to come from somewhere. And here we are saying these are the sources of funding. So once you have those figures sorted, you know how much you need to make when you actually go to market, right? And here we haven't accounted for marketing. This is just an initial setup. we'll go to the marketing bit ahead. This is just the initial company setup. Here we've done marketing also, sorry. So once this is done, your marketing expenses are also done. Each of your teams get a budget. This is your company budget. Eventually, each of your teams will be given a budget. So let's say your operational team has a budget, your marketing team has a budget, and they have to work within that budget because you've already accounted for it here. Let's look at the cash flow statements. Now, there are three components, sorry, in the cash flow statement, three major components. One, you either have operating cash from operations, which is your revenue, right? Cash is king, and cash flow management is vital to a company's success. We've seen that top startups shut down because of cash flow, right? So let's look at the three types of cash flows. One is cash flow from operating activities. The other one is from investing activities. And the third is from financing activities. So cash flow from operations is essentially your revenue, your core operations. So if it is product, then your product sale, right? If it's a material, then it's material sale. So from your core activities, cash coming in. Investing cash flow essentially comes from any of the investment in terms of, let's say, property or equipment or any of that investment. That's your investing cash flow. And your financing cash flow is either you've taken debt or equity. So any cash coming in through that is your cash through your financing activities. Now, preparing a cash flow for your startup provides multiple benefits. It gives you your profitability position. It gives you your liquidity position. So your month-on-month or year-on-year liquidity position. Usually we do a monthly cash flow. So you're clear that each month you have a positive cash flow and therefore there's no borrowing required. It gives you your capital cash position. It helps you manage your cash and not just now, but in future as well. Now, there are limitations associated with a cash flow, right? A cash flow statement does not present your actual net income because it does not consider your non-cash items, right? If you want to determine that, then you also have to look at your income statement. We are not covering income statement today. A cash flow statement is also not a replacement for your income statement. Now, your income statement covers every income that comes in, right? Each of these documents brings a different financial aspect for your startup, but both are important. A cash flow does not predict future cash flows. It is basically showing you for a specific period, right? So if we say 2018 or 2019, it shows you for a specific period. Now, to this cash flow, if you were to add expenses, and let's say, you're talking about your cash in is 200 and your cash out, which is your expense, is 300, then you're burning cash, right? Which means you need 100 additional per month, which is not coming from your cash flow, which means you're burning. Now that burn can come from your equity or debt. You have to finance it somehow, right? So if it's not coming from your operating income, so then that burn is being taken care of by your financing cash flow, which is what you're bringing from the outside. So a burn rate is basically how much cash you are burning per month. Now, why this is important? It basically gives you a runway for the company as to how long do you have before you run out and you have to shut down operations, right? So if you have, let's say, 1 CR in the company and you have your burn rate, which means you're burning 10 lakhs a month, which means after your operating income, you're burning 10 lakhs per month, means your survival is only 1.2 years. That's how long you're going to survive. 1 year, sorry, about 8 months, 10 months. 10 months is how much you're going to survive. So in 10 months, if your operating revenue does not surpass your burn rate, you will shut down your activities because you'll run out of cash. And therefore, it is important to monitor your cash flows and your expenses. Let's look at operations plan, right? For a moment, let's assume our core operations is a tech company, right? So let's talk about it from there. We're talking about a product development plan in operations and a human resources plan. So when you go into operating, right, you have to do really daily tasks. So what is operation planning? It's basically a very detail-oriented plan. It tells you your day-to-day operations that are required to run your business. It helps you define your goals, objectives. It helps you schedule milestones. It helps you allocate resources, delegate to teams, define your metrics for success, and basically how quickly you'll adapt, right? These are all the questions an operations plan will answer. Like how long will it take for you to develop your product? Because you know your runway, right? So it's important that your product development and go to market happens within that range. Who are the individuals? Who is going to actually do it? Who's going to develop? What is the team? So these are all the questions that are answered by a operations plan. Let's look at some templates here. Now, this is a product development plan for a product that we are developing. And this basically gives you a very detailed breakdown of, so let me tell you what the product is. The product is basically a blockchain-based digital certification system, okay, where it allows you to issue mark sheets, transcripts, etc. on blockchain. Now, for that, there are multiple modules that have been broken down. What is the work to be done for this product to be complete? How long will it take, right? So here we have a whole bunch of modules. So let's say first you will do your functional specifications, architecture, technical specifications. Then you will go down to coding, right? So you will, let's say you have different modules of digitization, generation, distribution, verification. These are all the different modules. And each of these modules is mapped on the right-hand side, if you look at this, to how long will the development of that module take. In the blue on the first, if you look at functional specification, has taken 1 whole month of October 2019. Architecture took 1 whole month. The technical specifications went in parallel with the functional. The development of the certificate generation and PDF creation happened parallelly and went on for 4 months, right? So this actually tells you how many months for each module of coding will it take. So I have an entire plan created all the way till October 20th. Means this is a 1-year plan that was created by the team to develop this product. Now, to develop this product, what is the team that I need? And how many people will I need? What will it cost me? This is your operations plan. Here, basically, you're talking about what you're going to develop, who's going to develop it, how much is it going to cost. So here we are saying that you're going to need a team of architect, tech lead, your Angular developer, Node.js developer, testing, blockchain architect, and leadership time. So how much time? So if you look at the top portion, it says how much time of that person is needed. So for an architect, I only need half an architect, right? And for a tech lead, I need 1 whole tech lead for the first 2 months, and then I need just a little bit, 20%. And then Angular, testing, blockchain, it basically covers all of the skills needed to develop this product. At the bottom, I'm talking about what is the salary of these people, and based on how much I'm going to need of that person, I'm calculating the whole grid to arrive at a product cost. Right now, in this, if you look at the total resource cost at the bottom, I'm spending about 5 lakhs monthly, averaging 5 lakhs monthly, and for a period of 1 year. So about 60 lakhs is my cost of resources, which is just people. To that, I'm then adding overheads, right? So there is rent, there is all kinds of things that a company incurs. So I'm adding a percentage of that overhead to this. Now, since this company is developing 3 products, I'm adding 1/3 of the overhead cost to this. If it is just 1 product that you're developing and that's it, nothing else, then the entire overhead cost goes to the product. So the total product cost along with infrastructure. Now, infrastructure is basically tech infrastructure. right? Any licenses or anything that you may need, or any memberships that you've taken that are required for product development. So that then covers your entire product cost. Now, why this is important, we will come to why it is important for you to have your product cost. Now, when you do this, it is advised that you do a shared planning with your team, because the team that is going to deliver, right, is also going to do enhancements. It's also going to, so this a shared vision when you create this entire plan is good to have with the team. Now, after you do this, you've already now created who are the people that are going to be working. You've gone and hired them. You then have to do your work allocation, right? You're actually going to go through each and every detailed task and allocate it to somebody. And you have a start date and an end date. This kind of planning, this detailed level of planning is very important for a startup, because we have very limited resources, right? And you have to work within that limited time and resources to bring a product out to market. And while we go to the market, these are things that will help you go to the market. If you burn and finish all your money before you even go to market, there's really nothing to go to market with. And this is just a template for team allocation. Now, this is the core. We are going to spend a maximum amount of time on this particular subject, which is your marketing. Now, we've talked about, product market fit. How does this product market fit actually go to market, right? This product that you have fit the market, how does it go to market? So we'll talk a little bit about this right now. Now, a marketing strategy basically outlines how the business is positioned and how it is offering, what is the segmented audience, target audience, and the route to market, right? A marketing plan basically is a blueprint of how the strategy is going to be implemented. What are the steps you're going to take to implement this marketing strategy? If we say, yeah, let's go to social media pe marketing karenge. So when you go to social media, how? What are you going to do there? And that's what a marketing plan delivers, basically. Who is going to actually do the things that you need to do in the marketing plan? Richard Branson would have never achieved his dreams if it was not for the very specific targeted marketing plan that his team delivered, right? We all know who Richard Branson is. He's now obviously gone to space and stuff. But that's what a marketing plan does, a very targeted approach to how you're going to acquire your core customers, how you're going to acquire and retain these customers, and how you're going to grow. So that's what a marketing plan does. It basically helps you focus. It gives your entire team and staff the transparency as to how you're going to go to market and with what material. And it will help you measure, monitor, and adjust. Now, you can never know anything, right? When you're going to market with a new product, you're going by either some history or by competition, right? Studies that you have done. Therefore, it's very important that you measure, monitor, and adjust. And that's going to be part of some of the templates that we are going to talk about. Let me give you an example of what a marketing plan would be in my case. Okay, we talked about this digitizing, a blockchain-based certificates product, right? That my company has. So if I look at the first bit, core customers, right? Who would be my core customer? See, many businesses believe that if I market to every demographic, to everybody in the university circle, then a lot of customers will come. Anybody can be my customer, but that's not true. You have to identify the core persona, and I'm sure you've done that in your, when you did your product market fit, you talked about personas, and you talked about, you've learned about different people that you are going to approach. So when you identify your true persona, like for my company, my core customer would be vice chancellors or registrars of universities, or they could be influencers who are, let's say, computer science department heads, right? They are my influencers. So your core customers that you are targeting has to be very specific, mostly male or female, within what age group, what are their likes, dislikes, where are they hanging out, are my registrars on LinkedIn, are they on Facebook, are they on Instagram, where are they? I need to know where they are. I need to know where to target them, right? So that becomes my core customer. And how do I acquire my core customer? To acquire them, I identified them. And then I'm talking about acquisition. Yeah. What is acquisition? Acquisition means basically bringing the customer to use your product for the first time. That's what a customer acquisition means. So let's say a university decides that I want to do digital certificates, degrees. I want to issue digitally, I want to issue degrees. So they start looking online. They do some research to see, is there any company who has a product who does online, digital degree issue. So I as a company, have placed some ads. So they see some ads and a registrar comes to me and says, I would like to see snapshot. They see it and they like it, they buy it. That means I acquired a customer. How? I was in the right place at the right time when my persona was looking for his product. So that means customer acquisition or gaining new customers. Let's talk about retention as well. I think retention is a very core marketing strategy. Once you've acquired your customer, right, you want to ensure that they like your product, you're giving them more and more value, and therefore you will retain a customer. Otherwise, university is free to go to any other software, right? Now, the common metrics that is used to measure customer acquisition efficiency is called CAC, customer acquisition cost. I spoke to you about customer acquisition cost, that if you go after a customer, your product costs $100, but your acquisition cost for a customer is 150 rupees, means you're losing money. Not good. Let's look at Amazon. There is another metrics that's very important for customers, retention. Like, let's say Amazon, right? I'm a regular customer at Amazon. But one day I had a terrible experience and I stopped using Amazon. I went to Flipkart. Now, to get me back, Amazon has to do a lot. Maybe offer me a discount, give me a coupon, or give me a gift certificate, or do something more, or give me heavy discounts. For the same product that Flipkart is selling for $1,000, Amazon will give to me for 500. Then maybe I'm attracted and I'll go back. But the retention takes a lot more money than, acquisition takes a lot more money than retention. So it's always better to retain your customers with better value. Now, in case of Amazon, there's a metrics. Let's say a company like Amazon, any SaaS website would use called the churn rate. Now, a churn rate essentially is used to measure attrition of customers. How many customers left you that month or that week? And essentially, it is determined by dividing the number of customers who discontinue your service by total number of customers for the same period over a given time span. So a customer churn basically tells you something is not right. A high customer churn. A low customer churn means you're doing great, that your time and effort to retain, acquire new customers is less. The money required is less. So you can really focus your marketing efforts. In terms of statistics, there is this stats that if you were to increase your customer retention by just 5%, then it can boost your overall revenue by up to 95%. That much of a difference customer retention will make once you acquire your customer. Plus, I think, going after a new customer every single time, the resources required are very high. Let's talk about growth, right? You have acquired your customers, you're doing well. How do you look at growth? So here you talk about multiple things like collaboration, upselling, cross-selling, market, your existing customer spends to increase, a variety of things. So we'll cover a little bit of that. But before you go for any of this, the first thing you need to do is to do a SWOT analysis of the product that you're going to go to market with. Now, why this is important? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats allow us to understand our product better. See, we are looking at it from a very, let's say, one-dimensional perspective. Because I'm the founder, I love my product, I think it's a great idea, I absolutely think it's going to sell. But when you actually make your founders sit down and do a SWOT analysis of their product, what are the strengths? Let's say they have a patent, right? What are the weaknesses? It could be the deadline that you are working under because you have very limited capital, or it could be gaps in capabilities, or it could be that maybe the founders will fight over who will be the CEO, maybe the team not gelling together. So there are many weaknesses that could hamper. So if you look at the left side, strengths and opportunities, right? These are your helpful columns. These are things that will help your company. One is internal, one is external. So your strengths are basically external strengths. Opportunities are usually internal. Now, as far as weakness and threats are concerned, these are problems that you need to be aware.
Hello. নেট চলে গেল নাকি?
একটা ইন্টারনেটের প্রবলেম, জয়েন করে থাকতে ওয়েট।
Who benefits from the application? So my end user may be university, but students may benefit, corporates may benefit. Who are my lead customers? What are the market characteristics for this? Who are the partners or players in the market today? Who's my competition? Are they SaaS platforms? If I'm offering a SaaS, is that the same competition? Is it apples to apples comparison? What are the needs of this industry? Is this really a priority for education industry? Is offering digital certificates to their students a priority for the education industry? That's something that I have to see. Now, a lot of products that come out in the market may not be a priority, but those products then really have to work very hard to create a market. So if you bring a product that really is a need for the market, it sells faster. Now we've already created a persona, right? So who is my persona? Let's say for universities, it would be a registrar or vice chancellor, right? Very mature, very reserved, conservative, usually definitely, most of the times not on LinkedIn. These are not the platforms you would find them on. You'd find them in education forums, right? Conferences. Those are the places I would look for. If I'm looking at students, let's say, who use these credentials, then what is their persona? Where do I find them? And who are the kind of people? Now, why this is important is I've identified where to find them. I've identified who they are. So when I actually go to market, this is the information I'm going to use to do very targeted marketing. So we have our persona, we know what product we want to sell, we have our budgets for marketing. We've already defined that initially. Now let's talk about the go-to-market planning. Now, in terms of go-to-market planning, what is the core that why are you doing this, right? To go to market, the planning requires that you position your product and you price your product. And these are the two key factors that will define your market strategy, pricing strategy, your external marketing plan, your sales strategy, supporting materials that you will need to go to market. That will determine your success metrics, right? And your ongoing budget and resource needs. So if you look at this slide, it's basically telling you that competitive positioning is done, brand strategy, pricing, distribution channels, we have decided. Okay, that for a moment, let's say that we have decided that we are going to do all of our marketing online because that's where my consumer is. And in COVID times, physically, anyways, nobody's meeting, no conferences are there. So I'm going to go ahead and market online. So I will need tools. I'll need a website for my product. I'm going to need design and copy. I'll need a brochure, right? I will need some kind of an identity for this product. Now I called it Snapcert. It could be something else. So you need identity. So all of that basically is done by your marketing team. Once that is done, we are off for customer acquisition. We say, okay, let's go. We are now going to go and acquire customers online. Now to acquire customers online, we do something called campaign planning, right? So we do SEO, which is search engine optimization, which means when somebody is looking for you, they know where to find you, right? So if on my website, I have the right terms. So let's say degree, transcript, digital degrees, affidavits, blockchain, all these are the right words on my website. And if a college is searching for them, then my website shows up. That's called SEO. It's not as simple as that. There is a lot to SEO, but for now we will keep it at that. Then there's online advertising. It could be Google AdWords, AdSense. It can be Facebook. It can be LinkedIn marketing. Now these online advertising platforms cost money, right? So social media, which we spoke about, is Facebook and Insta and LinkedIn. And then you have email marketing where you can send out emailers. So there are a lot of tools like Snow or any of these that you can use to send out emails. Now, in terms of marketing plan, a sales plan is important, right? So you will create a marketing plan. Okay, I'm going to be present here and I'm going to give this message. And then when I acquire, when that customer comes to me, this is how I'm going to close the sale. So let's look at a master planning template for marketing. Let's for a moment look at that. What are the things that I'm going to need to spend for? So I will need to spend for product marketing, content marketing. Now, when I say content marketing, I will show you the product marketing template and content marketing template, paid advertising, public relations, PR, branding and creative. These are all the places I will need to spend money. Now, I've written 100 rupees everywhere here. 100 rupees mein kuch nahi hota hai. You need a lot more money. But for a moment, just for the sake of this template, I've used 100 rupees. And this will basically give you what is your total master budget to spend on online in Jan. So let's say my budget is 700 rupees, right? Eventually, when I spend, I can actually come here and put the actual figures and tell me what the variance is. So it basically gives your marketing team a budget to say that in product marketing, don't go more than this. In your content advertising, don't go more than this. In paid advertising like Google and whatever, don't go more than this. So we have a budget. Now, this is the product. Here we looked at product marketing, right? So here we are talking about a product marketing budget. Now, what does this mean? See, when you put out a product, you really need to come out as a thought leader. You need to, your industry needs to know that you know what your product is. You understand the space. You understand the domain. So you may need to do a lot of white papers, do a lot of written content, case studies, demos, videos. You may need to do a launch event. Now, there is also paid research that one can get done. For a startup, it's not necessary. Startup, it's better that you go and let the founders actually do this research. You get a lot of these focus groups, which you can tap and survey. And that's essentially done for PMR. So this all goes towards your product budget. So you have a certain product budget. Here you have allocated 100 rupees. Here you have to actually spend that 100 rupees. So let's say 20, 20, 10, 5, however you want to allocate it. let's look at this. This is a very, I really like this template a lot, because when you go for marketing, digital marketing, your team needs to know what is the message, what am I going to put online, what am I putting on Facebook, what am I going to put on LinkedIn, what am I putting as Google Ads, what are the things that are going out. So let's look at this template for a second. Who will we reach? We spoke about a persona, right? So let's look at registrars and VCs for a moment. So let's say we want to reach our persona. What are the goals and benefits if I advertise on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter? So I need to put down my goals and benefits. So if I were to, let's say, advertise on LinkedIn, it truly comes out as thought leadership. There's a lot of influence in that domain. Awareness of events happens if I do it on Facebook. What are the featured topics, right? Under what topic would I write if I were to write content? So I would write about technology and education. I could write about how credentials have, paper credentials now need to go and digital credentials need to come. I'd write about what are the advantages of blockchain? Why must one look at blockchain versus any other technology? I would write about, the different ways that, our students, Indian students, can compete abroad if their degrees were looked at with that kind of respect. Other degrees are looked at. So it could be any topic, right? Different topics. So you list out your featured topics here. Then you look at the ideal velocity. So how many times a week do you want to post? So let's say on Facebook, I want to post twice a week. On LinkedIn, I want to post twice a week. On Twitter, I want to post once a week. Or maybe Twitter, I want to post 5 days a week. I want to engage, right? So it depends on how many times a day, or what is the velocity with which you want to post. So on Monday, what are you going to post? Tuesday, what are you going to post? So you actually list the velocity and the subject that is going to be posted, and the kind of formats, right? Are you going to post a PDF? Is it going to be research data? Is it going to be an image, like a creative image? Is it going to be a meme? What do you want to post? Do you want to post humor? So the format of that posting needs to be written down, because then this goes to your content team to say, this is what I need to post. And your team resources. So who is going to do the posting on Facebook? Who is going to handle LinkedIn? Who's going to do Facebook, right? Your editorial review, who does that? It should flow through one particular person who's looking at the cohesiveness of the data going out. Now, once you have started doing that, you need to measure it, right? Whether it's working. So are you getting, so there is a measurement, which is called call to action, right? And are you getting weekly subscribers? How many people are liking your page weekly? How many are enrolling in a program? If you have a webinar, how many attended, right? So this whole engagement needs to be measured. Yeah, so there should be a call to action. And your subscriber growth basically tells you, you define it, how many people have connected with you, how many are responding to you, or how many are liking the messages you're posting. That kind of engagement gives you measurements. And that is an important aspect of content marketing, when we say, which is called content advertising. I want to show you something, because you want to spend less. If you want to spend less, then content advertising is the best way to go. I mean, yes, you can put a post on Facebook and whatever, and then, it will all go viral, and, or you may spend a lot of money, let's say, $10,000 per month, and boost it on Facebook. And basically, it'll reach a lot of audience. You can define your audience. Or you can be really smart and do content advertising. I want to show you something that I really liked. I'm going to stop my presentation for just a second here. I want to share my screen again. I want to show you a video. And it's one of the most brilliant advertising moments in the history of the world. I'll give you a little background. So Volvo is a car company. And in the US, they have this event called the Super Bowl, which is a football event. And entire America watches it. So when the Super Bowl happens, which is the football final, Super Bowl is an event that happens It's like our cricket finals with India, Pakistan. That's how important it is. So Super Bowl happens once a year. And that one day, yeah, entire America watches. And the ads during Super Bowl costs millions and millions of dollars. And most of these ads are taken up by car companies, these ad spaces. So Volvo 1 year decided we are not going to spend money. We're not going to take up money and do this thing because it's too expensive. It's hard to justify, but it has become a brand presence. So if Mercedes is not present during Super Bowl, everyone thinks like, is Mercedes not doing well? So it's a statement. So that year, Volvo decided not to do the Super Bowl ads. Instead, they went and did this. And I'm going to share a video with you. Just one moment. Just give me 1 second to share this video. Udin,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to share my screen. Are you able to see the video?
Now I can see it.
Okay.
So they weren't advertising on TV. They were letting all the other car companies do that for them.
If you're planning to watch the game on Sunday, and if you're an American, you should know that Volvo, the automobile company, is giving away a bunch of new cars. When you see a car commercial during the game, any car commercial, not Volvo, you can tweet using the hashtag Volvo contest and tell Volvo about someone you think deserves a new car, and maybe they'll give them one. I would definitely give that $1.
So I'm going to stop sharing again. This was one of the biggest moments in history. Car companies spent $60 million every time a car commercial came on Super Bowl. Volvo on their Twitter said, tweet hashtag Volvo and give the name of the person you want to gift a car to. And Volvo gave away cars. So very small investment. They must have given away, what, 10 cars. But the entire America was tweeting. They had 50,000 tweets when these guys spent $60 million. So it's just smart advertising because they knew who they wanted to go after and how. So that's why they call it the biggest steal in Super Bowl history. And truly, it was a marketing genius. So startups need to get creative. They need to get smart about how they market. But just a second, I'm going to go back to my presentation. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I digressed a little bit, but I just thought it was very important that when we know who we want to go after and how, and with what content, it becomes very easy to come up with ideas and innovate. And so this is basically about the social media content planning template. This is for you to understand your customer better, which format you want to reach out to them, and with what message you want to reach out. Now let's talk about the paid advertising budget, right? Now paid advertising is, something like Google Ads, right? Or Facebook Boost or LinkedIn. Now, when you look at Google Ads, there are some terms that are used like CPC, right? What CPC means is basically cost, cost per customer. Yeah, it's basically cost per click. Now, cost per click is usually used by advertisers who have set a daily budget for campaigns. So let's say you decide that every day I want to spend 200 rupees on Google Ads. So you can actually set a budget there, and based on your keywords, your ad will be shown to people who are searching, right? So you have control of so that you don't overspend. And if somebody who's interested, a customer clicks on your link after seeing the ad, then Google deducts your account. So that is cost per click. Now there's another metric called CPM, which is cost per 1,000 impressions. Now this is usually used by advertisers who are targeting the display network. And it is best if you're trying to increase or improve your brand visibility. This is not really for product. It's more so for brand. Now, if you look at the template at the bottom, there is something called content delivery platform. See, we are talking about content, right? For a startup, thought leadership is the best way to get noticed without spending too much money. So there are these content delivery discovery sites, and they are basically ways to find new content to share with your social media following. And it taps into something called social proof. So what social proof means is that people trust what other people say more than the companies they say about themselves, right? So if I tell you Snapchat is great and you must implement it, you won't believe it. But if somebody else spoke about Snapchat on social media, right, you would be like, okay, what is this product? I want to take a look. And that's called social proofing. So if you put out good content and you're able to actually go to these content discovery platforms, right, to get that, it really reduces your cost. Now, all of this together impacts your SEO, which is your search engine optimization. Because when Google algorithm looks for the right website or the right product to put out when search happens, then since you are already there talking about it in your content strategy, it picks up that faster. So I think in this template, it's fairly clear what we've covered, that you can do CPC for search and CPM for search. You can do display and retargeting, which means, let's say if, again, to go back to my example, if let's say a registrar or let's say a computer science head has gone to a certain website to look for, let's say, tools for education, right? I can use that and retarget those people to market Snapchat. That's called retargeting. So there, the retargeting cost per click is higher. CPM, CPC is higher, but you get very specific targeted leads. In terms of social media, you can decide which platform is best. Not all platforms are good for everything, right? LinkedIn is a more professional network. Facebook is a more family-based network. So if you're doing consumer goods or consumer products, lipsticks, things like that, Facebook is great. If you're doing actually B2B products, LinkedIn is a great ad. If you're doing very engaged, kind of product marketing, Twitter is great. So it depends on where you want to go. Like architects, interior designers, for them, Pinterest is a very good platform. Insta is a very good platform. So depending on what kind of business, that your founders are doing, different platforms are available. Now that we have done marketing, let's do a little sales forecasting, right? So if I spend 1,000 rupees on marketing to generate leads, how much sales am I going to generate? That becomes the next question, right? So here what I've done is I put together a plan for issuing badges. Like you have certificates. If students are doing smaller courses, instead of getting a certificate, they get a badge. So let's assume for a moment that on top here, if you look at individual annual storage quantity, that basically means how many students are going to store their badges on my platform. Yeah, and for that, what will be the rate? So here everything is 0. If you look at the basic badge issue quantity, so in the 3rd month, I'm going to sell 20 badges. In the 4th month, 20 badges. At what rate? Issue rate is 1,000. So I'm going to have 20 institutes at $1,000 each, right? So that gives me a sales revenue of 20,000. That particular product that I'm selling. Then the other, I'm selling an advanced plan badge issue. So that costs 5,000. I'm going to sell it to 5 institutes, right? And that will give me a revenue of 25,000. So similarly, you forecast it for month on month. Here I've covered only 6 months because it's the template is much larger. You can do a 1-year forecasting, 3-year forecasting, basically based on your marketing plan. How much money are you going to spend versus how you're going to generate your leads, and what is your sales forecast? That will give you your total sales revenue. That essentially becomes your operating revenue that we saw in our cash flow, which comes from your core services. So these are your core services, right? You're generating revenue from there. So based on how many ever products or services, or within that product that you're selling, different, let's say plans that you're selling can be forecasted, and then you can actually map it to what happened to actuals. But the sales forecasting should be as accurate as you can make it, because once you forecast it and you say that I need to go and acquire 20 customers for my basic plan, right? Your sales team has a target which says 20 customers we have to close that are $1,000, that are paying me $1,000 per customer. So that's the importance of your sales forecasting. And it essentially, what factors you should include when you're doing sales forecasting? Competition. What are they selling at? Right? What are the changes in demand supply? Suddenly, why am I sold really good last month. Why not this month? What are the market conditions? Like COVID threw everything off, right? COVID threw everything absolutely off. There was this one car company, I remember, and they actually went to market, a Japanese company, I think it was Kizashi, and it was manufactured by the Japanese automaker Suzuki. And the car died a not very slow death because it was overpriced. So when they went to market, it was extensively overpriced, and I think they sold, like Volkswagen Beetle in India, they sold like 500 cars. So even though they had forecasted heavily, but because they were not priced right, they were not able to sell. So all of these factors that you've done before matter here now when you're in the market. And therefore your sales forecasting comes as a result of your previous exercises of your product, your market, your marketing, your consumer, understanding the time required to close a sales cycle. So if you look at it here, month 1 and month 2, I have no revenue because I'm assuming that once the product is out, it's going to take me 2 months to close my first sale, right? So my sales cycle, the first sales cycle is 3 months. And that is something that you need to know when you're forecasting. There are 2 types of forecasting. There's a short-term and a long-term forecasting. Here, usually in tech, mostly in most companies, we do short-term forecasting. Now, this covers a period of 6 months to 1 year to 3 years max. But there is long-term forecasting, and that is usually used by like really large companies like petroleum, shipping. They do like a 10 to 12 year period because they're very, very capital intensive and things don't change as fast in those industries. And so they do a long-term forecasting. Yeah, I think I've covered mostly everything. The last bit is your MIS and metrics. So when you're running a company and you're planning your startup and actually functioning, your MIS and metrics become your tools basically. It helps to handle vital business data. It assists in decision making. And more so, I think, it helps you to analyze trends. And your MIS can be different, right? Your financial reports, basically target versus achieved. But I think monitoring for a startup really the key value comes from your market trends, right? For you to see how basically your trends are taking your product to market. Do you have opportunities to do co-branding or collaborations? Is there any product out there which is complementary, which can help you expand your suite? Right? So which will help you upsell to your customers. It'll help you cross-sell to your customers, more services to the customers you already have, which basically increases your revenue without new customer acquisition. Existing customers, you're selling more product, and therefore retention is better. So your MIS basically helps you identify a lot of issues. If there are any issues when you're doing your MIS and you're looking at your reports, you can figure out how to increase efficiency. If there are any resources that are not being utilized properly, it'll help you increase your efficiency. It'll help you basically with comparison of business performance, last 3 months versus next 3 months. What is your output, current output, and can it be contrasted to, let's say, last 3 months achievements, and what changed for the better or for the worse? And those factors then can be amplified. Just some examples come to mind, trends, market trends, why they're important. I don't know if any of you know the company Blockbuster. It used to be a huge company in the US. I've lived actually 12 years of my life there, and so I know these companies better than the Indian ones here, but I'll talk about India as well. But Blockbuster was like a DVD rental company. You could go to Blockbuster, rent a DVD, come home and watch it, right? Now, and that was huge business. Like in 2004, Blockbuster was all over America. It employed like close to 80,000 people worldwide. And they had close to 9,000 or odd shops across America. It was huge. You could take a franchisee and start renting out DVDs. 6 years later, this was in 2004, Blockbuster was huge. In 2010, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. $900 million in debt. And why? You cannot even imagine why Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. Competition from a small, unsuccessful company at that time called Netflix. Today, Netflix is something that's not where it started. It started with renting out DVDs. That was Netflix. You could go rent DVDs and come back home. And that was Blockbuster's competition. But Netflix kept with market trends. They kept monitoring, they kept doing surveys, and they went after the millennials. They went after the newer generation. So they went after content, and they revolutionized it like, I don't know if anyone watches TV anymore after Netflix. But there was another company called Huffington Post, and that's currently a very successful business in America. But their Indian operations had about 12 people here in India. And they actually, they started here in India when I think 2005, George W. Bush was the president, and it was ending, his term was ending. And they actually shut down operations in India. Huffington Post writes some of the most amazing content. They shut down their operation in India. Guess why? Because the new FDI policy that the government brought out that, limited the foreign investment in news and media websites. It was a policy decision that the government made. And so it was an external threat that shut down their Indian operations. It was sad that it shut down, but anything can impact a business. So it's very important that you're in tune, you have your ear to the ground, that you listen carefully, you follow competition, you follow complementary businesses. Can you do merger with some company? Are you ripe and ready for a takeover if you have a really good product? So there are a lot of factors that affect a company, and you continuously need to monitor these metrics, of course, of your company operations, but also market conditions.
Yes.
You are right, Darshana, because when it is a startup, means every day you have to deal with lots of uncertainties and also the business opportunities, and we have to balance both opportunities and also the risk associated with the business. Uh, uh, and we have to also understand the market completely. Neither we will miss the opportunity and will miss the bus, right? And thank you for enriching the session with live examples and sharing your own experience, the journey of entrepreneurship that you have, you are going through since last 20 years of your entrepreneurial journey, and also touching upon all the points and the components of the business setup and uh, planning for a startup, also covering to linking between the business plan with the market product fit with business fit, and where the checkpoints we should consider so that we will not able to do the mistakes, or there is a kind of, we can check the mistakes also before we can check the points so that before it fall into a big trouble. We have a couple of questions from the participants. So
Sure.
the question is that can't we control uh, the market? Can you control this to make the market consistent? So actually, I'm not able to get the exact question. Dhyan, would you please ask Balagopi to again repost the question?
Yes, sir, I will ask him to again repost it.
Yes, because
Till then,
question
I
is
can
not
continue, sir.
question is not complete.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, yes. So if other questions are there, please post so that I will read for Darshana to answer.
So I think
And,
market consistency, market consistency can never be there, because look at the number of startups that we have. Look at the competition out there that we are competing with larger companies, right? Startups are basically a breed of innovation. Why do startups come up? They are innovating and therefore they come up. Market consistency can only happen with an established product. Startup is establishing a product. So until you don't get there, that consistency, because you're working with limited resources. So if that is not consistent, how can your market be consistent? It's not possible.
So market consistency is more applicable where the risk is already known.
Right.
No doubt risk will be there, but risk is known. So especially as you mentioned that for existing products and the existing business, you can predict some consistency. But in case of the completely new product, the risk is completely unknown, and even you are also in the process of developing something, and you are trying to create a new market, and you are also in the process of discovering the market for you. In that context, actually, always you have to come with lots of dynamism and also the kind of it may be positive or negative, the risk. So both opportunity will be there, both risk will be also there. And the question is from
I see
Balagopi again. Yeah, during post-COVID analysis, it is found that even easily available products are sold at very high cost. Okay, so his question is consistency means even the same thing is also that selling price is fluctuating when the market changes, or when some like externalities comes to the market. So it happens when the externalities are there, like nobody has predicted that COVID will come, and because of the COVID, it affects the supply chain, it affects the production, it affects the even customers' demand and also customers' flavor and the taste towards a particular product. See, if being one of the also as an individual during the COVID time, we always try to restrict us inside the home, and we avoid directly getting physically into the stores and get the things. So we indirectly or directly encourage the digital mode of transactions. We encourage the digital mode of delivery of the online delivery of the products. So this is the new emerging models that market actually never we accepted earlier, but now we are. It's like a normal behavior to accept this mode of business transactions. So sometimes lots of externalities comes, which changes the whole structure and establish a new normal what we called the new normal after the post-COVID. So, Darshana, please comment if you want to comment on this question.
I think, it is human nature, business nature. Let me say business nature. Like if you look at, my grandfather tells me that during emergency, long time ago in India when there was emergency, a lot of very core products were so highly priced, necessities, not even just. So I think it is the very nature of humans that if they're able to make money during the time where demand supply gap is there, businesses do it. And really governments, like democratic governments, can't mandate that kind of pricing. Although I think Indian government did make an effort to try as much as possible that this profiteering doesn't happen. But it happens. It's a fact of business.
In a simple term, see, every business is surrounded and affected by two factors. One is the internal factors where the control is within the system, or there is a related factors, and another is the external factors which is influence it and but have a no control on it. So sometimes when some changes happen within the internal system, it is very easy to control. But when it is happening, any changes happen beyond that internal control, that is with the external factors, which is only can influence, but you cannot have a control. There only you can have to only go for plan A to plan B and the plans B to plan C. Like that, you only have to move. You can't have a control. For example, just take the two example. One is the Sensex, right? In Sensex, when companies they do the business, right? Company they do the business, they never go loss. Almost all of these companies, those are listed in the Sensex, they are the very good business units and they do good business. But still in Sensex, you will see that somebody is going up and somebody is going down. And this is actually done through our interpretation of what we feel, right? It is our perception. And it's a kind of a emotional and also those are actually buying and selling these shares. We feel that okay, now it is moving off, means that positive emotion flow into that and company shares increase. So something that even the Sensex within that context, we are playing the external role and we influence the share value of up and down with any single activity done by that particular organization. So it is kind of a emotional management and kind of thing. So in the Sensex, it's playing that you can't predict the market, right? A single activity in the market that influences the whole Sensex values. So this is the what called externalities influence. And what exactly happened in the COVID situation also, because of so many externalities, even the existing product prices increased many folds. Okay, so I think we have no much questions, but I think through your session you have tried and you have given the best examples and also given the all components that is actually required for an individuals or for a startup to think and to consider during the planning and preparation stage if they want to take the innovations forward in the form of the startup or in a business firm. So I again thank you, Darshan, for the wonderful session, and over to my team, Mr. Jain.
Thank you very much, ma'am, and thank you, Deepan sir, for this great interactive session. So I hope with today's session, our upcoming innovation ambassador will definitely learn about the startup planning and milestone planning with the different development plans and market segment which you have talked about. So I hope our participant will definitely set realistic goals and will definitely will transform setbacks into success. So with this, I'm concluding the session, and now after the end of this video, participants are requested to submit the assessment. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you, ma'am.